Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And today on this episode, we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts to stop overthinking, that old thing. And I really am setting the intention for this episode to help you navigate that crossroad that I'm sure a lot of you are feeling when it feels like you're looking off the side of a cliff of like you can go down the rabbit hole and spiral down. And then there's the other reality, which I love teaching people and women how to do, which is to actually step away from the cliff. And I also just want to relate to it can feel like such a struggle where logically you know that you don't want to do it, that you like this uncontrollable urge to spiral down, and I call it like chase the rabbit down the rabbit hole. Like you just can't help yourself. And I really thought of this episode to help you kind of see when you're at that crossroad, what direction is actually going to help and support you to stop the overthinking. So if you tend to go down the rabbit hole, you doom think around, oh my gosh, you're going to break up with me. If you tend to do that, then this is the episode for you. So save it, send it, download it, all the things. And if you're new here, my name is Claire. I'm a relationship coach, and I love supporting overachieving baddies who are super successful in your career, academics, entrepreneurship, but you are sucking at staying calm in your relationship and you are seeking that constant reassurance and all the things that is really not aligned with who you are, because we know you're amazing, right? So then why don't you feel amazing in your relationship? So if that is you, then sister, you are in the right community. This is the vibe. And I am also going to say that if you're enjoying this episode or any other episode, hitting the 5 stars, seriously, in this little tunnel that I'm in around making these episodes, it feels so good to feel your high five. Whenever I check and I do this weekly look at the podcasts, it really just hits my heart so much to see your high fives and hitting the 5 stars. Thank you. And before we dive into the do's and don'ts, I just want to prime something and get us on the same page around what I really know deeply is probably happening, because this piece where you logically know in your brain that you don't want to send the 3-page text, that you don't want to pick and nitpick and start the fight, but you just, I mean, my gosh, I'm just relating so much to, I just couldn't help myself. It felt like the itch that I just had to scratch. I couldn't let it go. I could not say the thing, and it just would all come tumbling out. And so I want to set the stage around, I'm going to help you in this episode, like see the directions that you can go in. And I also want to put a stake in the ground that if this feels like almost like a compulsion, like you cannot help but say the thing, you can't help but nitpick, you can't help but send the 3-page text, then this is actually a sign that this is something much, much deeper. Because if you are in that place where you have to say the thing, you cannot control it, that's really a sign that we're dealing with a subconscious, okay? Subconscious. And what I just want to be straight up about is that we cannot outwill our subconscious. I don't care how strong you are, how determined you are, how motivated you are. That really doesn't matter if these patterns are deeply embedded in your subconscious. And the reality is, your subconscious is multifaceted, it's multidimensional, it has a lot of layers, and it really takes understanding and taking apart certain pieces so that you're not in this reaction state. You can actually learn how to respond. And the subconscious and healing anxious attachment is all that I teach in the confidence code, which is my step-by-step process to do that. I'll put the link below. And I just want to say, because I'm going to go over the directions today, like, okay, do, don't, do, don't. And at the same time, if this is a pattern for you, if you keep doing this, it's a sign that you're in a subconscious pattern. So just want to put the stake in the ground. And also good news, this episode's rolling out around Thanksgiving. So there's going to be a huge Black Friday deal. If you are on the email list, then you'll be getting notifications, and I'll also be talking about it in stories. So check those out. Okay. Let's talk about it, shall we? So I think it's going to be much more easier to chew if we talk about the don'ts and then go into a do. My brain personally works really well with contrast, and that's what I find my clients really resonate with too. So to stop the overthinking, you don't want to push away and you don't want to avoid. Now, that sounds pretty bananas, but this is what happens when we try to push away the overthinking. And this is similar to what I'm saying around that crux and that position you get in where you are logically knowing you don't want to do it and you're just kind of in this like mental jujitsu wrestling with, do I send it, do I not? And really, when we try to push away the overthinking, what happens is that it's kind of like saying, don't think about the pink elephant. Hello? Of course, you're going to think about the pink elephant. That is going to happen. The other visceral kind of feeling that I know it can feel like is those finger traps, where the more you try to pull and force and push it away and avoid it, the tighter the trap gets. And that's what overthinking can feel like. Am I right? Like you can feel like you're just trying to wrestle with it. It's exhausting. You feel spent. And it's just this wrestling match, all right, internally. And so we don't want to push it away. We don't want to kind of feed it even more. So if we don't want to do that, what you do want to do is feel. And if you are an overachieving type A, go-getter kind of girly that's gangbusters and you can GSD, get shit done, then no shocker that you're here. And in that type of way of being that many of us are taught to be in, there is not a lot of value or credence to feeling. All right. So, we see it in our culture: rise and grind, no pain, no gain. And instead of pushing that away or pushing away the overthinking, really the first step that you want to do is to feel. And what I mean by that is not just feel the anxiety, but to go into it. Because the more that you avoid the thing, it's like putting the dust under the rug. Like it's just going to explode at one point. You can't avoid it. So the first step is to feel and to go into the feeling, because anxiety is a feeling that really is all about fear. It's about a fear about the future. And so the invitation is to feel and be aware that you have this feeling of fear and to go into it. So then the next kind of layer that you don't want to do is you don't want to numb out. All right. And I think this is a lot of times where people get this confused. I'm not saying, okay, overthink. It's okay to think and like go into it and overthink it. That's not what I'm saying. That's like indulgence. Okay. And also when we numb, we don't want to do that because we are just avoiding what we're feeling. And so numbing, for me, at least in my experience, could look like a bunch of Netflix. It could look like food. It could look like working out, whether that is lifting weights or running 15 miles. I mean, I've done all the ways that we can numb. And honestly, our phone is a way to numb out too, that we're given images, we're given examples of living life instead of actually living life. And so all those activities are ways that we numb, ways that we indulge. And we don't want to do that, because instead of if we're numbing and we're indulging, we're avoiding. Again, we're numbing out from what actually needs to be looked at. So if you don't want to numb, if that's what we don't want to do, what you do want to do is to sit with it. And some of you are like, what? I know. First step is to feel. The next one is to sit with it. And this is another example of what I used to do that made the overthinking worse, is that I would, push away the feelings, that kind of finger trap action. I would not think about the pink elephant. Then I'd go and numb. Be like, okay, well, I gotta, feel anything else besides this feeling. So I would eat, I would work out, I would do anything but feel the actual feeling. So then the other, if that's what was not helping, then the reality is learning how to sit with it. And again, this is something that not a lot of us are taught how to sit with and be with and process our feelings. And that if we are, it's a really easy contrast. Either you're numbing or we can learn the tools to sit with it. Okay. Now, I didn't realize that these all kind of bled together, but they're connected. So, another piece that we don't want to do is to distract, distract, and to get busy. And one of the easiest ways that I used to do this would be I would get busy with work. I would work. I was a workaholic, and honestly, it was a thing to be proud of. I'm a workaholic and I love being busy. My calendar's so full. I just, that, and me